Hey everybody! So I'm back to talk more about a specific house. Today I'm going to be talking about the ninth house. And again, just want to say it's really fucking cold here. I love the cold, but it's really fucking cold here and I work outside. So if I seem really squirmy or anything like that, just bear with me. If I look like I'm about to piss myself, it's because I'm cold. Okay, so the ninth house, the houses represent areas of life, right? So the ninth house deals with, well, first we'll start with beliefs, which I think is like the most important thing or one of the most important things to look at with the ninth house. Depending on what planets you have falling in the ninth, if you have any planets falling in the ninth, you may not, will kind of show what you need to express, what kind of beliefs need to be expressed. Like, for instance, if you had Uranus in the ninth house, that might show that the beliefs that need to be expressed here are more like, they're like change, and they're shocking or something like that. I mean, you could go a lot of different ways with the keywords depending on the entire chart, but those might be some kinds of beliefs that need to be expressed through this house. Now, and also depending on what sign actually rules the house cusp will also show how those beliefs need to be expressed. So, but beliefs are a big deal here. Philosophical beliefs, even political beliefs, beliefs in general, personal beliefs also. Also, even if it's not a real personal house, I do find that it becomes personal by nature of the beliefs. Our beliefs are personal things. So, but it might feel, okay, so like if you had Uranus in the ninth house, that is a generational planet. So that house may not feel as personal to you as somebody who say has the sun in the ninth, where the sun is in its joy. And the sun is obviously a very personal place in your chart, right? It's your life force, it's your vitality. So it's your ego. So having that in the ninth house would make that house more personal, thus making those beliefs more personal. But regardless, they're still personal. They just might feel more personal depending on, what planets fall there, if any, or what sign rules the house cusp. So on the topic of beliefs, it's spiritual and religious, both fall here, metaphysical. Okay, so while the 12th house is very spiritual, very, very spiritual, there is generally no dogma attached to the 12th house like there is with the ninth. The ninth house can be incredibly dogmatic. It doesn't always have to function this way for people. It doesn't. It may very well not function this way for you. But you can be, or there can be this tendency for the ninth house to attach a dogma to it, to the beliefs that one holds. Now, it sounds weird to say that because this house is so open-minded, right? It's so expansive. But when somebody, or when a person maybe perhaps becomes too set in a certain way of believing, or a certain form of belief, or what have you, they might expand into that and disregard everything else that doesn't fit this, that doesn't fit their version of their belief. And while this isn't always the case at all, I have seen it happen. And when it does happen, it happens big. Like it's big. So that is something that you'd want to watch for here in this house, attaching too much to to dogma. Now, in some charts, that might not be a bad thing. There may have been too much fluidity from a previous life point of view, and perhaps they kind of need that. It's not always a challenging thing. It's challenging. It's not always bad though. Just it kind of depends on the whole chart. But if you feel like you're attaching too much to a certain sort of dogmatic belief, this is probably the house that you'd want to look at, along with Jupiter in the chart, to see kind of what's going on there. So in terms of actual locations, you'd be looking at things like churches, synagogues, mosques, any sort of religious dwelling. I would probably leave the more spiritual, like East Asian culture. I would probably leave them out of this. To me, this feels much more, I don't know, Abrahamic in nature. I don't know. It feels more like that. Think of the religions that have a real strict dogma to them. Those dwellings would be found in the ninth house. Those sorts of spiritual places. Which again, I'm not ragging on it. Just, that's kind of what would be found here, I think. Higher education is another one. Anything above high school. So we'd be talking, universities, trade schools, any institution where higher learning is done. And abstract learning. Absolutely. So those things fall here. Traveling is another thing that falls under this house's domain. Traveling, well, I want to say journeys, because, we can journey far through our body and in our mind. So this house is the house of long journeys. Both actually the physical body moving long journeys and the mind taking long journeys. So there's that. Things like, let me see, what else do we have on here? Exports and expatriates. So things like exporting goods would be a ninth house thing. People that have moved to a different country and claim, new citizenship or whatever, that kind of thing would be found in the ninth house. That would be ninth house territory. The higher courts of law, like I'm thinking like the Supreme Court here in the U.S., that would be a ninth house thing, whereas the lower courts are a seventh house matter. Let's see here. Other cultures, which again goes back to the living in a different country or something like that, but just other cultures in general, and the way that you interact with them, what you can learn from them, how you integrate with them, all of that is ninth house territory. But again, back to beliefs. I'll kind of end it on this note. The search for truth, right? This is also a big deal with this house. This house wants to search for truth, wants to expand its knowledge, wants to know what's actually so. And any planets that fall in this house, and any in the sign that rules the house cusp, will all kind of play into how you might do this, how you might go about searching for truth. And the ruler of the house cusp, whatever that is, look to that planetary ruler and where it falls, because it'll show where the ninth house bends. So like, for instance, if you've got your ninth house ruled by Leo and the sun is in the I don't know, I use mine. Sun is in the 12th house. It'll cause the 9th house to bend to the 12th. So you want to also look at that too, to see kind of how this house impacts your life and how it functions in your life. And if you don't have any planets in this house, you want to do the disposition thing regardless, but if you don't have any planets in this house, you would definitely want to look at where the planetary ruler of the house falls, to see where searching for truth, where higher education, where your beliefs, all of those kinds of things, what house they've been to. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all later.